This is the Horror Scouts podcast, and we're about to review Mad Heidi. Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Mike. I'm one of your hosts and troop leaders. I'm joined as always by our other two hosts and troop leaders, Brian.
Hello.
And Nick.
Hey.
And we are thrilled to have you here. Thank you for joining us. You're joining us in one of two ways. You're either watching us on YouTube at youtube.com/@horrorscouts yes, no underscore. That's for social media. Sorry. Right. youtube.com/@horrorscouts or listening to the audio version on your favorite podcast service. Right off the bat, just a little warning. All of our reviews here at Horror Scouts are full spoilers. So if you don't want anything ruined about Mad Heidi, go check it out. And then come on back and listen to what we have to say about the film. Okay, all the rigmarole out of the way. Hi, guys.
Hello.
What's going on?
Not a whole hell of a lot. No.
I mean, we're in the back half of the summer, so spooky season's on its way.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was in Home Depot, and they definitely had like a 14-foot laughing, talking scarecrow thing.
Yeah, I went to Lowe's last weekend, and they had like this little, I don't know, 3 or 4 like super tall things in like a little fenced area, and like that was it. I was like, it is fucking July. This is unacceptable.
Yeah, it was a little thing. It was the big scarecrow, but then there were 2 regular life-size things, but they were like, I think it was skeletons or whatever, but it was like a band. One had a guitar and one was sitting.
Yes, that's what they had in Lowe's. They had the band.
Yeah.
Are Lowe's and Home Depot actually the same company?
No.
Oh, you know what? I said Home Depot, but no, I was at Lowe's.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that we saw the same things. Yeah.
Sorry. I used Home Depot like people use the word Kleenex. Just
right. A hardware store.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Orange guys, blue guys, whatever. It's all the same shit.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's there. My wife was at it was the grocery store. I was going to say CVS. At the grocery store, sent a picture of the pallets of Halloween candy already surfacing, and we were in.
I bought Halloween. Sorry.
No, say we were in CVS, and the place where it's gonna go is empty, but it had the little binder. Just someone had left it there, so I'm like flipping through it, like seeing what all Halloween shit's gonna be this year.
Nice.
Yeah.
I bought a big bag of Halloween candy for my sister-in-law already at Costco.
Wow.
We were heading that direction, and she gave us a shopping list, and on it was Halloween candy. God damn, really? Okay.
What the fuck you do? I mean, I'm assuming it's not for trick-or-treaters, but like what?
I think she's just getting it early and preparing.
Wow.
It's like,
I feel like there was a shortage a couple years ago, maybe. Wasn't that like a thing?
during COVID? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, right.
When none of the kids are out anyway.
Yeah, right.
September is acceptable because you want to get your decorations ahead of time and whatever, preferably after Labor Day. But but yeah, July
It's too early, for sure.
Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like if it's a type of store that doesn't do like back to school things, they just think ahead to whatever the next thing is.
Right.
So
It's too soon.
Yeah, I don't love it.
I'm trying to think, is anything going on or news related? I think I read today that the guy who directed Freaky, so that one from a few years ago with what's his
Vince
face?
Vaughn.
With Vince Vaughn, he's going to be taking over for Scream 7.
Yes, I think that's the same person who did Happy Death Day as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yep.
Which is interesting because those are both horror comedies. And while Scream has its certain comedic elements, I would not call it a horror comedy. So I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, it walks that line pretty well. So
it's satirical.
Yeah,
but
okay. there's a decent amount of comedy in it.
Sure.
But
But not like
my mom's
Happy
gonna be so
Death
mad at
Day.
me. Like, there's some good comedy in there.
So I know it's funny, Mike. You had shared with us the Exorcist trailer,
Mm-hmm.
and I had never watched it until Mal and I saw Oppenheimer on Saturday, which was phenomenal, by the way.
Cool.
And they had
Probably
the
a horror
trailer.
movie in its own right.
Yeah, but that was seriously just absolutely fucking fantastic movie. Amongst there had to be a bazillion trailers. There was at least 10, I swear. One of which was the Meg 2.
Dude, the Meg one was fun.
Yeah, I'm not knocking the Meg,
I'm going to watch the second one.
but then they had the Exorcist one, but had not seen it. I didn't know what it was. I'm like watching a bit interestedly, and then they teased the Tubular Bells music. I was like, oh fuck, this is the Exorcist trailer. And to quote you, they have my attention. That was a really good trailer, and even the story itself, from what they showed it looks interesting. And it comes out on my birthday, which I will not be seeing it that day. But unless they're releasing on a Halloween, Friday the 13th in October, it's a pretty good time to release an Exorcist movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, that trailer was so good.
Yeah. Nick,
All
I'm
right,
assuming
I'll
you
have to
didn't watch it. Yeah.
No, of course not.
Yeah. I think the most interesting thing is that we've got 2 kids possessed at a time instead of 1.
I mean, it's a sequel. You got to up the ante, right? You know how it goes?
Well, they have to be careful because this is another trilogy planned from Gordon Green. So
Right, it's another trilogy following the original movie.
yeah, and bringing back original cast members.
Yeah.
So does that make this one the second in the trilogy, or is there a trilogy planned after the events of the first one?
I think he's getting his own
More?
trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like he did Halloween.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I
You
still
say
have
add a kid in the sequel, so by his third movie, we'll have 4 kids.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a daycare center of just possession.
Now, see, now I'm just switch the tone entirely.
Yeah, that could be good.
So you just lock the door and leave. Problem solved.
Mhm.
I never watched it, but isn't that what Cooties was essentially? Except it wasn't a daycare, it was an elementary school or something.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't remember much about it though. I still haven't seen Halloween Ends yet. It's like,
I haven't either, and at this point, I think I'm just going to wait till October because,
yeah, same. Like Paula wants to see it, and I'm like, all right, we'll do it in October.
like, I have to watch it. I know I have to watch it. I need to see how this actually culminates, as much of a shit show as it may be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to.
I'm not gonna watch it.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
But
Yeah.
I've literally seen every other Halloween. I'm not going to leave this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's fair.
Also,
seen
I
most of the other
just want to know.
Halloweens,
I haven't even read spoilers on it. I want to know why it's so bad. And at this point, I'm just going to watch it myself to figure it out.
Yeah.
But
There's another trailer that I have saved, but I haven't watched it yet for Slaughterhouse.
I think I saw that come up on like Instagram through like Rue Morgue or something like
Yeah,
that.
I'm guessing that is exactly what the title makes it sound like it is.
Yeah, it's basically like Zombievers, but Slaughterhouse.
Sloths.
Yeah. And it's like,
Okay.
oh, fuck, what's the tagline? It's like something.
Death comes slowly.
It's like, don't rush, die slow or something.
I'm looking
Yeah.
this up now. This has happened. Slaughterhouse. Yeah. Cool. Emily Young, a senior, wants to be elected as her sorority's president. She adopts a cute sloth, thinking it can become the new mascot and help her win, until a string of fatalities implicates the sloth as the main suspect in the murders.
No.
No.
No, that's not what happens. It can't be.
Why? Why? That's the question. Why?
If it's done with enough tongue in cheek and fun, much like a movie we're about to review, I think it could work. I love Zombievers.
I love Zombievers too. That was enough tongue in cheek, but they also like made practical Zombievers. And that went a long fucking way for me. Not to mention the prosthetic effects and stuff like that. They put effort into it. So if Slaughterhouse wants to do that, sure, I'm down. Oh yeah, the tagline is "Don't rush, die slow," and there's just a bloody sloth talon like on the poster. Oh, it's the end of this month. This comes out.
Yeah, you could do
listeners. Stay tuned.
You could do like a 3-movie thing with that, Zombievers, and Black Sheep. I think that'd be good.
Nice.
I love Black Sheep.
I would watch Black Sheep again. It's been too long.
Slaughterhouse is PG-13 though, so
that's disappointing.
That is disappointing. I mean, maybe it's for the better. It's like, oh, we can't put in all this blood and gore, so we don't have to worry about having the budget for it.
Yeah, I'm curious to watch the trailer. I saved it today and then forgot to get back to it.
I'm gonna keep this tab open. The other poster has this menacing looking sloth with his talons close together, arcing over the picture of all the kids, which is over the sorority house, like your standard horror poster.
Nice.
All right. Well, speaking of amusing and tongue-in-cheek sort of horror movies, why don't we move over to our review of this episode for Mad Heidi. Just a little bit of info about the film for everybody out there. This was written by Sandro Klopfstein, Johannes Hartmann, and Gregory D. Widmer, and it's directed by Johannes Hartmann and Sandro Klopfstein. And our main cast is Alice Lucy as Heidi, Kel Matsena as Goat Peter, Casper Van Dien as President Mealy, Max Rudlinger as Commandant Knorr, Katja Kolm as Fräulein Rottweiler, and Almorji Sato as Clara. And a synopsis I found that was a little longer than the one on IMDb is, in a dystopian Switzerland that has fallen under the fascist rule of an evil cheese tyrant, Heidi lives the pure and simple life in the Swiss Alps. Her grandfather does his best to protect her, but her yearning for freedom soon gets her into trouble with the dictator's henchmen. The innocent girl transforms herself into a kick-ass female fighting force who sets out to liberate the country from the insane cheese fascists. So, first order of business on Mad Heidi. Yay, nay, or just okay?
I gotta go nay, gang.
I'm going just okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go just okay.
Okay.
I enjoyed it, but it's certainly not for everybody.
No.
Yeah.
I
struggle with really schlocky, cheesy movies. Pun very much so intended there. It's always an uphill battle. And this one didn't work for me.
Okay. Yeah, I had fun with this one. I feel like movies like this, like we watched Sky Sharks recently, it falls into the same vein. This one, I think, landed on what it was trying to do. Like Sky Sharks wish it had its shit together enough to be like this.
Yeah, I have a hard time articulating this, so I'm going to fail. Because I don't disagree with you. But had Sky Sharks been better, big caveat there, I would have enjoyed it more than I enjoyed this. There's something about just fascist rule and dictators and large corporations exist, so they're inherently not funny versus it's sharks that fly. It's, you know, Sharknado. It's fucking Mega Croc versus whatever else.
Yeah.
Like, those are just inherently such batshit crazy ideas that even the best of them is going to be trash. There is something about, especially like, you know, the rolling credits in the beginning talk about how it's a completely crowdfunded movie done out of, you know, a passion for the art and the craft and whatnot. I don't like a movie whose goal is to set out to be bad. Like,
Right.
why? Like, I like a movie that they attempt to make a good movie and fall short due to budget constraints, actors not being great, lack of practical effects. And then we all watch it as a campy, you know, B movie, First Evil Dead, you know, like that you can get behind because there's something there. But like having a grassroots thing come together to make something that is intentionally supposed to be cheesy and lame is not something I generally want to give a lot of my time to.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like while they might have set out, you know, did the goal they set out for, I was going into, because they called it, their production company kept calling this a Swissploitation film. And there's references, direct usage is not just references to a whole bunch of different types of like grindhouse cinema and exploitation films, between blaxploitation, just plain exploitation, sexploitation, the whole women in prison, you know, thing that was like a small little subgenre of grindhouse movies. So there's a lot of that reference in there, and even the very obvious Faster Pussycat Kill Kill line that they had in the movie.
Right? Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they're referencing all this stuff, but I feel like this movie would have worked better if they played all of that straight. Like, just made the exploitation movie that they were paying homage to without trying to be comical. Because there would have been humor in of itself if you know the reference, or enough about the reference material, right? So, and then reworks the dialogue a little bit, if not more of the rest of the script, and then I think it would have been a much better movie. So I think I was expecting a little more of that, not, you know, actually calling a guy Goat Peter, and you know, my very Swiss leader, like every time, like all these like stupid things that were just not funny after the first time they said it.
My very Swiss leader was like the one thing I enjoyed.
That was better than the Go Peter thing, which we'll get to in a second. But like, just some of it fell a little flat for me, and I think somewhere toward in the beginning half of the movie, I was like starting to kind of tune out. But they picked back up with some of their, at least the action and the gore gags and stuff toward the end of the movie.
Yeah, it's funny. I lean in a different direction from Nick in that. This has come up plenty of times. It came up last time with my general lack of tolerance for like bad acting or something in a film. So if I'm the opposite, whereas if someone tries to do well and fails at it, I do not enjoy it. But if you go in trying to be goofy about it, it almost seems like an SNL skit, or like not to compare these two movies because people will fucking kill me, but like the Holy Grail or something, like it's supposed to be ridiculous. And granted, those are much more comedic geniuses going, you know, doing the Holy Grail, but I feel like if you're just starting out and you're trying to make a movie and you want to practice your craft, but acknowledge the fact that this isn't going to be a masterpiece, so we might as well come at it from a different angle and make it a little more fun. I appreciated that. And I think they also really kind of nailed the grindhouse feel. Like, especially, I mean, this is just a very minimal thing, but like the opening credits and everything, it's just like, it was very cool.
Yeah, they did nail the feel of it. I'll give them that.
Like, my biggest problem, I think, was pacing in the editing. I think there were some points, especially like action scenes, where it kind of stumbled and tripped a little bit, and like stuff didn't. Come on, let's like you shot all the right angles and you got everything you needed, but you're letting this drag out a little too long.
Right.
But in general, I don't know. I guess I just kind of was in on what they were going for. I was down for the ride.
Yeah.
So, and like what Brian said, I appreciate all the exploitations, quote unquote exploitations,
Right.
like nested within each other, like the whole Go Peter thing. And then him like, cause you think it's just a black dude and he's got this very traditional Swedish outfit on after the opening scene after they've had their literal roll in the hay and he leaves and stuff. But then we cut to him in town and he's like got the fur jacket on and it's more of like the Shaft style music and like the whole pimp vibe. I thought that was pretty funny.
Like the whole, what I didn't mention, the whole training sequence that Heidi got, the whole like random fake ninja kind of training thing.
Yeah. That was Tarantino would be proud of that one.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah. So, like, how do we want to attack this? So, I enjoyed the whole cheese joke thing, like the angle that they came at it from, and that it wasn't just okay, that's the joke because that's like the big thing here, and that's, I don't know, almost their currency or whatever. But the fact that they were making this like genetically modified cheese to make everyone in town a freaking idiot, and like using cheese and like waterboarding someone, but with fondue. Like that was pretty good.
Yeah, like that that was funny. But that was still very early on in the movie. And like it just, that joke got stale, being everything cheese based. And then they also like, that was kind of the pinnacle of it, was if that's your torture method, then when you're executing people later on in the movie, have it be cheese related, have it be, whatever.
Right.
It, like, I feel like they came out swinging and then just kind of
There's also
fell off.
I mean, obviously the whole movie's ridiculous, but even within that context, it's kind of ridiculous. Like the only thing they ate was cheese, except for that one time that the dictator got chocolate. But doing which Swiss chocolate is a thing. They at least acknowledge that. But
right. I mean, they hammer a Toblerone down somebody's throat.
Oh, true. There was that too.
There.
Death by Toblerone.
Pretty good.
Yeah. But like literally,
but there was like a lack of yodeling. Like there are other things that we think of. There was no watchmaking. Like there are things that we think of as being iconically Swiss. Well, there was not like a whole scene of army knives.
They had one reference to the army knife, and they had two cuckoo clocks.
Yeah, the cuckoo clocks.
They had cuckoo clocks.
Like the bomb. Yeah.
That was funny.
The base of it isn't just like a little round clock; it's a whole fucking cuckoo clock.
I did like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Swiss watches, Swiss timepieces. That's a big Swiss thing they missed.
Yeah. Yeah, for a Swiss exploitation, it was basically just like, cheese. We know one joke about Swiss people. It's cheese. Here we go.
And the clothing. That was about it.
I mean, Heidi's final like battle uniform was pretty badass. Like I could see that being a Halloween costume.
Oh yeah. So not to jump around, but like, so there's the pacing, but there's also like, I guess they were trying the training sequence I mentioned. Like, I guess they're trying to fit in that exploitation thing. But what the fuck was that whole sequence of her ending up in this random ass church of some sort that has an arsenal and a bottle of absinthe left on an altar, which she gets instantly high off of, and then there's like the goddess of the actual mother of the motherland, who may or may not be just the absinthe green fairy.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
what was that?
And then the two nuns that like teach her how to fight.
Yeah, the ninja nuns. Yeah, like
Yeah.
that lost me. I was like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. That lost me. Like, you can only write so much off of that as being like an absinthe trip.
Mm-hmm.
Like, eventually, weeks into this, you're not still like tripping out your gourd, and somebody actually has to be showing you how to do things. Otherwise, you're just gonna be an idiot flailing around in the woods, and when you go fight somebody, you're dead. Like,
Which would have been an interesting
no
twist.
amount of playing with a stick in the woods is going to turn you into somebody who can fight a gladiator.
Yeah,
it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, that could have used a little of all the things they spent too much time on. They could have spent a little time explaining what the fuck was happening there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess they thought they did, right? They're like, "Oh, I'm the mother of, I'm the motherland." It's like, okay, no, I'm not just accepting that. Like, you're in this wood stave church type thing, and in the mountains.
Yeah, like would it have been too hard to go back to the mountains, because they kept talking about her being a remote mountain girl, and like find a resistance movement camped out in the mountains training and spend time with them and being a natural leader and then leading them against the cheesemongers? Like, that wouldn't have been that hard to do, to just shift that around a little bit. Instead of magic fairies and nuns, you could have just been like, yeah, there's a resistance movement back in the mountains where they don't go to, that is rising up against them.
Yeah, actually,
easy peasy.
Like, her grandfather goes and sees Goat Peter's father or grandfather, to be like, they killed Goat Peter, and I know we've had our differences in the past, but we got to get together and kill these motherfuckers. And like, you could just rearrange that. So, cause he was like old military. So Heidi could have found him, Goat Peter's dad / granddad or whatever. And he could have trained her, and then they could have marched into the city.
It would have made a lot more sense.
Yeah, Goat Peter's father, who didn't know Goat Peter was dead. And also, he says to Heidi, "They don't call me Goat Peter for nothing." And I understand we're supposed to assume he's fucking goats. But, like, if they don't call him Goat Peter for nothing, implies Goat Peter is his nickname, which means his name is Peter. Yeah. So why does no one, including his father and Heidi, his love of his life, just call him Peter?
I'm like, I don't know the original.
That drove me nuts.
I don't know the original Heidi story, but I assumed that like that's how he's referenced in the original story, and they just stuck with it. I don't know.
Maybe. I know nothing of the original story either, but sure.
Happy goats make happy cheese.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Another thing I found funny was that the government was totally wanted to rid themselves of anyone who is lactose intolerant.
That was funny.
And like testing all the prisoners before they come in.
And immediately killing them. Like, I don't know if any of you guys have sensitive tummies, but lactose doesn't make you froth at the mouth in 0.2 seconds. Like, what the fuck?
I assumed it was like they had, because they had the connection to this crazy cheese guy, that they had made like the highest
super
lactose
cheese?
Content super cheese ever.
Well, I mean, the Super Swiss was 88% lactose content, which is the highest ever. So it had to have been less than that.
Yep.
But high enough to make lactose.
But high enough to make you die if you're lactose intolerant. So somewhere below 88, but higher than
normal.
Regular.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Whatever that is.
Or maybe it was the same stuff, and because these people are lactose intolerant, they just totally skipped the whole zombie phase and just instantly died.
Can we talk about how unnecessary the zombie thing was? Like, entirely pointless to the plot at all. Like, I figured eventually we'd have a horde of zombies to be fighting. So, for those that didn't watch the movie, I mean, why are you here? But for those that didn't watch the movie, they develop a super cheese that makes people obedient. And it's supposed to just dumb people down. And when the scientist feeds it to one of the soldiers there, instead of just making him stupid and obedient, it turns him into like a full-on zombie guy who is still obedient. When the president tells him to show him how strong he is, he just matter-of-factly grabs the dude's chest and pulls it open. Like just rib cage, pop it open. It's pretty gnarly. Yeah. Decent effect. But so then the other guy in the room puts him down immediately, shoots him, kills him. Very easy to dispose of. And I was like, okay. So if there's going to be a lot of them, we're just going to get like bloodbath of killing zombies because they go down very easily.
Right.
Or they need to be hard to kill so that few go a long way. When it does finally pay off and they're back in that same room again and the president gives the cheese to like these 3 French dignitaries, they all turn into zombies. And then our heroes rush in and just shoot them. They're gone. They're gone fucking immediately. Like the setup of this super cheese that's going to control the masses, it's going to do whatever. It gets given to 3 people who don't effectively attack a single person. Like, what is any of that? None of that had to be there.
No. It made good practical effects for when they turned, but beyond that,
it was the best use of practical effects in the whole movie, between the turning and then the gore of ripping the guy's chest open, the shooting through, like looking through the holes left by the shotgun from that guy. Like, it was definitely the best use of effects that they had. Just, they needed to either make them tougher so there was some sort of imminent threat, or do like a World War Z style wave of zombies, and we got neither of those.
Well, and here's what they should have done, right? They, at a different point in the movie, they Mealy wants to send out the neutralizer to take out Heidi, who looks like this, slovenly accountant. Not slovenly is the right word, but just kind of harmless accountant type guy stamping papers. And then he turns.
That was a good joke, by the way.
What?
That was a good gag, where he's just stamping denied on everything and picks up the phone to call somebody because his stamp pad is dry. And they're like, use the other one. What other one? And he pulls over in a drawer and there's a cobweb-covered approved stamp.
yeah, that was a good gag. But then, so he has this bull outfit that must weigh a ton. He has this giant metal horns and neck stock, and he puts on metal testicles for some reason, and he's got things on his back. We'll get to that in a sec. And so when he finally confronts Heidi, I've learned all these skills. She took out 3 guards, which is another good use of practical effects. The accordion to the mouth. I enjoyed that.
That was good. Yeah.
Flip side of that, she cuts a guy in half. In what looks to be practical effect of a body in half, there is then CG blood squirting between the 2 halves. So, like, really, you couldn't get a couple hoses and whatever. I actually kind of expected more CG blood in this movie than I even got, so I'll take it as a win.
Yeah.
So anyway, so she takes them out, and the neutralizer comes in, and they exchange words, and just fucking punches her in the face, and she's unconscious. Like, okay, I'm glad you learned all that fighting skill. So, to my original point, they do this gladiator type shit for celebrate like Switzerland Day, and she has to take on the neutralizer. Instead of that, or when that failed, that would have been a good time to have super soldiers, zombie things come out after her, even if it was after that fight, if not instead of it.
That's exactly what I thought was going to happen.
It's what should have happened. That would have made it a useful plot point in the movie. Instead, she fights Raging Bull Man, cuts off his fake metal testicles, but also in doing so clearly cuts either his groin and somewhere in there. Yet this dude gets up and just charges at her. It's like, no, you did fucking not. I'm sorry. There's things I can let go of even in a movie like this. That is not one of them, because I don't care what you are. We saw you're an actual man under there. Right? So, like, no. Sorry.
Yeah. I know. They should have showed him, like, eating the cheese or something before putting it on. Like, that would have been
there you go.
Great opportunity for the typical movie, like, chung, chung, straps, like putting everything on.
And then,
Yeah.
like all that right to the end, and then one last little like toothpick and cheese, and then into the ring he goes.
Yeah.
And like she cuts him down, and as he's falling, you're like, well, that went down easy. And he gets back up, and he's a fucking zombie in there. It would have been perfect.
Yeah.
And
like part of his face sticks inside the mask as he pulls it off.
Yeah.
Like you could have done such good shit with that.
Yeah. And those weird like fist gauntlet things he had, like at first they were on his back.
Yeah.
And then he puts them on, and there's these big metal, like almost like
Flails.
bells with a hole in it with the flail that comes out the end. And it was a little disappointing because like Heidi took care of those like real quick.
Yeah.
Like we didn't get to see him use them.
What was the point? They were cool. Use them. Instead, it's just like, oh, she cut the chain.
Yep.
Yeah. Great.
All done.
Okay.
That was, yeah.
And like,
that was dumb.
and the fact that we didn't get to see the two prisoners, like the obviously steroid using female prisoners that were very scary, but
They should have given them the cheese.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Put them in that makeup, that would have been crazy.
Yeah. So we all agree there should have either cut the super cheese out or just done the second half of the movie was all super cheese. Like,
yeah. I mean, because the first half of the movie was hyping it, and then they just didn't.
and with you were talking about the effects, so I understand that a lot of these movies, or even a lot of the older exploitation movie stuff, you saw the aftermath of the kill because they didn't have the budget to show penetration, whatever it was. But I feel like here you could have done a little more of that, particularly spearing General Core, or what Captain, whatever he was. So you have two different shots of her jabbing him and then sticking it in deep or whatever, and then they do this wide cutaway of his profile with the pull through him, which is clearly just like under his right arm. It's like, not only did you cheap out on the spearing thing, we're not seeing any blood, and it's so wide. We know how you're holding him, how he's holding himself up on this pole you stuck into the ground. Like that was so anticlimactic. And even that whole fight sequence was, maybe Mike is what you were alluding to before. Like some of the action sequences needed to be shorter because the choreography was just not there. Like the whole gladiator thing, like the angles were all right, but there was like a couple little hits here and there. Like no one was hitting each other. There was no intensity at all. Like, yeah, just get a few weapon hits in and then we're going to kill him and move on to the next one. And that's exactly what it felt like.
Right.
It was painful to watch.
They dragged him out. Like if you just cut it faster, because like you said, they had all the shots, just cut those shots faster, just cram them into a shorter space.
Yeah.
The frenetic nature of it, you'd create that.
Right. It would have been more satisfying than, I see what you're going for here, but it's not working. Just end it already. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like that all these characters were very unique. You know, we didn't have just like because a lot of times when you see a movie like this, especially with like Nazis or whatever, it's like they're just the Nazis, you know, and it's like just this blanket of evil. But with this, like the president clearly had his own thing going on, and like Nick said earlier, I just really like the whole our very Swiss leader, like you have to call him that. And it seemed like I thought the joke was going to be that he wasn't Swiss, and like because like the accent broke a few times, and he seemed like just some dude from California.
Yeah, I was going to mention the accent thing throughout the entirety of the movie in all the characters. Some tried, some didn't, some had presumably different accents. They just go all or nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought he was going to be like not be Swiss, and he insisted that everyone called him your very Swiss leader to compensate for that. But that Fräulein Rottweiler, like she was great. Even the guard that ended up like doing her little like dance and her taser dance to Heidi. Like, I appreciated you got like the tension between her and Rottweiler, and like, you know, she was just kind of that stubborn, snot-nosed young kid who just kind of wanted to hurt people, and Rottweiler's been at this forever and knows how to, you know, work the system and everything. And then you've got Commandant Noor, who you think's very in charge, but then he's like, he like crawls into Rottweiler's office barking so he can get whatever that was shoved up in his butt.
A mustard covered sausage. Yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly what that, it's exactly what you think it was. I'm pretty sure.
See, it's not all cheese.
Yeah, I could have done without him as a character.
Okay.
He annoyed the hell out of me.
Okay.
Because it was just laughing all the time. And his laugh was not sinister. Like, it was supposed to be maniacal, but it just came across as like exceedingly forced. And like it was the only note that he was given was be crazy. And that was the only way he could like show that. So every scene ended with him like delivering his line and then fucking dead-eyeing the camera and laughing at it. And like after once, I was like, I never need that again. And then every fucking scene he's in, right up until he gets impaled, was that every time. I was like, dude, do anything else.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of him.
I feel like Clara was kind of like, what was she a leftover from an earlier version of the script or something? Like, what was the real point?
Yeah, they really forced that relationship and connection because like they don't know each other before Heidi gets knocked out and is in like the prison wagon. She meets Clara there. Then they're not roommates, are they? Yeah, they are. They're cellmates. But like you don't really see them bonding. They're both getting, well, no, really just Heidi's getting her ass kicked by the steroid users.
Yeah.
And Clara's there, but she's not part of it. They don't interact. They don't converse. But then like there's this huge affinity for making sure that she's safe and that she's okay after she gets her fucking back broken. Like she's totally fine afterwards. But yeah, they like there's no relationship there. They're two people who shared a paddy wagon essentially, and they try to pass that off like it's some deep bond without showing it. I was confused as to why I was supposed to give a fuck about her the entire time.
Yeah.
I feel like it was funny you mentioned maybe she's left over from a previous script. I feel like in the sense of being an exploitation film and, you know, not being politically correct in any way, shape, or form, like she was going to end up teaching Heidi how to fight and ninja skills and stuff like that. Be like stereotypical, like they'll get out and figure out the resistance, you know, when she snapped out of whatever funk she was in. But yeah, she didn't add a damn bit of anything, except literally being a punching bag in certain parts of the movie.
Yeah, and because like they were both put in separate solitary, and it just only to show the two opposite ends where Heidi was like refusing to eat what they gave her and all this, and it turned out Clara had been eating and then once Heidi broke out, went to get her, it was like, come on, and then she didn't want to come, so she just, okay, that's it, I'll leave you, and that was that.
Right.
Yep.
So
okay, bye.
Which, I mean, yes, just leave her. Right decision.
Yeah, right.
But
you showed us no reason to care. Just leave her behind.
Yeah.
I did like the casting for Dr. Schwitzkabel.
Yeah.
Like he was the perfect mad scientist looking kind of doctor. Like if you were to have like drawn a caricature of Herbert West, like that's what he would look like.
It's funny. Horror movies, they have this one face in mind. Cause like I've seen multiple movies since I saw the first Wormwood, and like the doctor guy there in the hazmat suit, and I've seen like 3 movies since then, including this one, where I was like, "Is that him? No, it's not him." Like, yeah, it's the same look.
Yep, it's an aesthetic for sure.
Yep. But yeah, he was a cool character.
Yeah, he played that stereotype very well.
Yeah.
And so the super cheese, right? So earlier in the movie, actually we see her a couple times. Millie's servant or whatever is a pretty much nude woman for no fucking reason.
Yep.
So during a dinner where she's serving all the main bad characters, I think it was the doctor looks very directly at her breast and gets it. You hear, didn't they make the sound like the light bulb going off, kind of like, I have an idea now. And so to use breast milk to, put in the cheese and you get all the extra lactose and the superpowers or whatever.
Was that the connection?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was during that dinner. She like leaned over to pour something, and he's sitting there going, "Yes, oh, I know what to do now." And so that's how we get to the end of the movie, where you find how they're making the super cheese, and they have these 4 women on all fours with giant
plungers,
hooked to their breasts and just like taking milk out of them, presumably to put in. Like, none of that makes any sense whatsoever.
No.
But visually, it was striking and worked very well.
Mm-hmm. They were like, we have a few actresses from the prison scene that were willing to be topless when they were getting their clothes for prison, so let's reuse them in this scene and turn them into human cows.
Right. Yeah. And actually, I will say, I'll take back the scientific comment. I mean, granted, obviously it doesn't really work that way, but now that I'm thinking about it, after that scene ends and they're walking away from the plant and there's the big explosion as they do the slow walk away, they save the women and they are holding babies.
Yeah.
Because I remember looking and saying you only see swaddle. You don't even see any semblance of there's actually a child in there, but holding that. I'm like, oh, so they at least did pay attention to that detail, which is important. But considering some other ones we discussed, it wouldn't have surprised me if the women were just walking away naked in the explosion scene, because that would have actually fit the movie just as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Another interesting thing.
But, go ahead.
Sorry. Just thinking about that last scene, and it reminded me of a character where you would think, again, they would have used him for a very exploitative nature, but they didn't. There was just a little person in the movie, and that it didn't. He was just another character. That was it, which was great. And like, thank God they didn't like throw him or whatever, like something completely ridiculous.
Which reminds me, what the hell was he and Goat Peter's father doing? Like, were they right? He was making like propaganda comics, I guess.
Yeah,
because he was drawing.
Yeah.
But like the whole place they were sitting in, the fact that the two of them together and this almost gay vibe going on, and then he was drawing the comics, but I didn't get the vibe like they were drawing a ton of these, or there's a printing press somewhere, or they mentioned the Resistance. It's like, yeah, he's going to hate this. I guess they showed it later because they were covering up posters. Yeah. Of that being made, but okay, I guess I answered my own question a little bit. But at the time, I was just like, "Wait, what is happening? Like, why are they here?
Why is any of this?"
Yeah, I guess that's. Yeah, there's a couple other movies we've asked that question, just like why? Why is this movie? Yeah, I mean, they clearly knew their reference material, like between. Naming all the types of exploitation, the Faster Pussycat line, which was so ham-fisted, and to the point of just not being necessary. But, yeah, I guess I needed to go in like thinking like Mike, like this is going to be that G-level type bad CGI backgrounds, bad movie, as opposed to, a spoof on exploitation films, which it was. Mm-hmm. But it was very ham-fisted.
Mm-hmm. Another reference that I don't want to skip over. There's like a film shown towards the beginning of like it's like a propaganda film or whatever, and people keep saying, I'm doing my part, and it's very Starship Troopers, which the president was in. That's why they made that reference, because Casper Van Dien was in that movie.
That's another movie I haven't watched in a long time.
Yeah,
and I think when I originally had seen it, I took it too seriously, not realizing what type of movie it was supposed to be. Kind of like when you watch Ghostbusters, when you're literally like, yeah, bust the ghost, and you're older, like, this whole thing is a comedic gag. I get it now.
Right.
It has a different payoff than Starship Troopers. I'm not trying to directly compare them. It's the age in which you watch them. You watch them very differently.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have any other notes on this one.
No, I think we covered pretty much the whole movie.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, those are our thoughts on Mad Heidi. Let's hand out some merit badges before we wrap up. If you're new around these parts, we hand out merit badges for things that we think a film did well. There's if you're watching the video version, the list of our badges is popping up on the screen as we speak. And if you're listening to the audio version, you'd like to see that list, you can go in the description and click the Discord invite link, and you can see them all over at Discord. So, merit badges for this one. I laughed enough times where I'm going to go humor.
Yeah, I'll allow it.
I won't veto it. That's fine.
There's one original death, but I don't know if one's enough to wear
like
merit a badge. Especially since
that's kind of where I'm at too.
The badge says deaths plural. The accordion one is definitely unique.
That was new and different for sure.
I don't know if it warrants a badge.
I mean, that said, I've never seen somebody get Toblerone hammered down their throat before.
I keep forgetting about that.
I've seen people impaled before, but I've never seen somebody get fondue boiled and then impaled by a Toblerone.
Yeah,
that's 3.
All right,
so, all right.
Well, that was the same guy who got.
It was the same guy.
Fondue.
They tortured him with fondue and then killed him with the Toblerone.
That's still good,
but that both bolsters Mike's humor badge and gives us original death. So let's do that.
Okay.
That's the only badge I had that I was considering giving, so let's go ahead and give that one.
You don't have any analysis on lore?
You know, I don't. I really don't. You'll notice I didn't really talk about that at all this time.
I mean, there wasn't much there. What they had, I guess they kept consistent with, except for that whole church sequence, which...
Yeah,
sure.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they kept it relatively tight, which was a smart move.
Did we kind of fall into the special effects versus blood and gore argument?
No, I mean, they were good, especially for this movie. But looking to others we might have given badges for, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's where I always have a hard time with things like that in particular. Of like, good writing is good writing. You're not really comparing it to anything. It's like if it's good, it's good. Special effects and blood and gore in particular, like, are we reviewing that in a vacuum or in context of we've seen other movies? Because like the blood and gore is nowhere near a lot of like the torture porn shit that we've watched. The special effects are good for budget and context, but they're not like mind-blowing, crazy practical effects. Right. So like in a vacuum, no, maybe. In the whole of the world, no.
Okay.
So I mean, you could make the argument for either.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily trying to. It's just...
Oh, well then no.
No, but that's still an important question overall.
Yeah.
because it's hard to compare, I guess, because you have to figure out what that bar is, because you can't pick like, oh, that's the bloodiest movie you've ever seen. Nobody else can ever get a gore badge,
Right. Yeah, I generally approach these all not in a vacuum, because like most of them, writing, directing, acting, music, they all work in the larger world. Like you can have multiple versions of all of that. And original deaths you have to take in context of other things, because like
right,
if you're only judging one movie, every death is original. And same with antagonists. So I generally try to view everything from that lens, but special effects and blood and gore are kind of hard sometimes.
Okay.
Hey, this movie didn't get a sad kangaroo, so should be happy about that. They got 2.
All right, cool. So Mad Heidi's going to get badges for humor and original deaths. All right, that'll do it for us for this episode. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Again, 2 ways to check out the show. Video version is at youtube.com/@horrorscouts. Leave us a comment. If you've seen the movie, let us know what you thought. If you enjoyed listening to us, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. Or you can check us out on podcast services. If you're doing that, leave us a review there as well. That would be great. Our Instagram, I'm personally have abandoned Twitter. So
you mean X?
X, yes, excuse me. And that is the very reason right there. So for now, we're just going to call out our Instagram. I haven't activated the threads yet, but I post the same fucking thing in both places anyway. And I take the time to do a piece of art for it. So follow us on Instagram, @horror_scouts. And again, like I mentioned before, link to our Discord is in the description as well if you want to hang out with us there. So that'll do it. Guys, as always, thank you for joining me.
Of course.
See everybody later. Bye.
Alrighty.
Bye.